Good afternoon. In the name of the Almighty, the most merciful, the most loving, the creator of the universe, we wish you good day. We wish you peace, love, and happiness. Welcome to our channel. And for those who are new, we urge you to like, subscribe, and press that button, that bell. And actually, we would appreciate comments and questions on what we have discussed, corrections if you have things that we said that you disagree. We would appreciate that so that we will be able to correct whatever mistakes we have said and move on. Today we'd like to talk about the criteria of knowledge. How do we know that what we know has basis? How do we know that what we know is valid and from a source that is valid? So this is something which is very important, because all of us, we say, I believe, I think, I, or even the I. Now, and we say we know ourselves. So how do we know ourselves? How do we know that what we know is on the right path? So let's examine this. Now, everything has a start. All knowledge, all things, all being have a start. Knowledge cannot come by itself. It is something which has evolved, created, discoursed by someone, by something. So the first thing that we have got to ask is, where do we come from? Or what that knowledge that we are talking about as knowledge, where does it come from? What is the source of that knowledge? What is the source of that thing? What is the source of that food? What is the source of that product? What is the source of that life? That tree? What is the source? Where does it come from? For instance, this is important. Like for instance, if the source of the food that's on the table is from some factories which does not keep to hygienic procedures, then the food is no good. The same thing, if the source of the knowledge comes from a polluted, a corrupted human being, then how can it be true? So the source of knowledge, the source of things, the source of ourselves, where do we come from? Where do we come from? This is important for us to examine where we come from. Now, and to discuss that, it's going to be a long dialogue. But we'll just say at this point, it is very important for us to know the source of our knowledge. How, the validity of the source. Is the source something that we can trace, something that we can check? For instance, if we say that this particular theory, or this set of beliefs, where is the source? Where is the original work? What is the language of the original work? Can we check that? Is the original work still still in existence? Who is the party? Who is the person who propagated this original work? Who created this original work? So, like food, like anything. Like even for instance, you want to buy a car. The car is branded BMW. Why is it branded BMW? Because you know it's created. It comes from the factory of BMW. So therefore, it is stamped. So you have copyright laws. One of the things about copyright laws is that if you make a car, and it's not by BMW, and then you put the label BMW, you're going to get sued, because that's copyright infringement. What does copyright infringement mean? Is that you're claiming something which is not yours. You are associating a source that produces this product you're naming, you're saying that the product you're saying is coming from this source when it is not. So by human nature, we put value to where something comes from. If in food, if you say that this is McDonald's, it means that it comes from the kitchen of McDonald's. The same thing. So if the product is labeled GMO, so it's come from a GMO source. So it is important for us to know where do we come from. Not just as far as food, as far as product, but more important, we have to know where we come from as human beings. The second thing that we've got to ask ourselves is, who is the owner of that thing? Who is the owner of that food? Because if you have food on the table, you know that food comes from McDonald's. You know the car comes from BMW. So the question is, who is the owner? Because if you do not know who is the owner, and it's not you, you might not be able to eat because it's not yours. You might not be able to drive because it is not yours. So knowing who is the owner of the food, of the thing, and of yourself, who is the owner of yourself? Is the owner of yourself you, or do you have another owner? Is that owner the one who created the food, the one who created the car, the one who created you? Who is the owner? So this is something that has to be examined. Who is the owner of the food? Who is the owner of the being? Who is the owner of the trees? Who is the owner of the mountain, the sea? Who is the owner? So this logical process we need to go through this logical process. And only if we go through this logical process, then we could have the appropriate response to what is created. Then we know how to treat, how to behave on that. The third question would be, how do we know what we know? We say we have knowledge. We say that we know certain things. So what is our source of that knowledge? Like in knowledge, as I mentioned earlier, you have the source of the knowledge. So who is the source? And who is the one that teaches you to examine the source? Because you see, if you take, say for instance, a medical book, you can have a medical book, and a professor reading a professor of medicine reading a medical textbook, for instance, would understand different from a first-year student, medical student, reading the same book. The same thing with any set of law. You have an expert, a professor of law or a judge reading any constitution. His understanding will be different from that of somebody, from the layman. So if your understanding of something, of law, of medicine, comes from the layman, then your source of knowledge is limited at that level. But if your source of knowledge comes from an authority, and comes from the source of that authority is correct, is authentic, so your knowledge has basis. But if you know what you know basing on hearsay, basing on newspaper, basing on the internet, without knowing the source, whether or not what you know is valid, and then you react, then it is easy to be prey of false flag operations. It is easy to be swayed by advertisements. It is easy to be swayed by what everybody else say, because you have no guiding principle of to check whether or not what you know is valid. So checking, answering this question, how do you know what you know, is very important. The fourth question is, after knowing what you know, is what are you going to do about it? After knowing that this food that's on the table, who is the owner of this food? Yeah? Where does it come from? And you know that by legitimate source. So what are you going to do about it? I'm going to eat it. Or if it's not right for me to eat it, I'm going to throw it away. If it's not mine and there's nobody, I'm going to give it back to the owner. So what are you going to do about it? This would be the next thing that we have got to think about. And lastly, the thing that we have got to examine and decide would be, where are we going? After knowing what we're going to do, then we have to ask ourselves, where are we going? What is our objective? Where are we heading to? If you have the food, and after knowing, and you want to eat the food, so what do you want to achieve by eating the food? Do you want to just pleasure your appetite? Do you want to become healthy? You want to, with the knowledge that you have, what do you want to do? You want to fight a legal case? You want to get medically, you want to get your health-wise better? Where you want to go? Where do you want to go? You want to be a better human being? You want to be, or you want to be a robber? You want to be an assassin? Where do you want to go? So this is 5 basic questions, fundamental questions that we have to ask before we can be on the right path towards human excellence. I would summarize it, the 5 questions being, the 1 is, where do you come from? 2, who owns you? 3, how do you know what you know? And 4, what are you going to do? And 5, where are you going? Thank you very much. We hope to see you again, and we like to remind again that if you're new and have not subscribed to this channel, please like, subscribe and share. And we again appreciate any comments, any questions for us to improve and elaborate further. Thank you. Good day.